Okay, hi there guys, I am Ville and this is a review of Fallout 76. And this game has been lambasted everywhere. It has been thrown under the bus, over the bus, inside the bus, crushed with huge boulders, ditched into a volcano, shot into outer space, and everyone has taken a shot at this game that, oh my god, Fallout 76 is so bad. But personally, I do not agree. I don't. I played through the game in co-op and we played through the whole main campaign. And that was about 40 to 50 hours of gameplay. We finished the main quest, we launched a nuke, we battled the post-story giant boss, explored all of the main regions, and after everything that we had done and accomplished, after all that was settled, I was level 60. I thought to myself, I wish they would make a sequel to this game. I totally enjoyed it. So that's gonna be the premise for this review of Fallout 76. That it's actually an enjoyable game, at least in multiplayer. So let's get to it. Let's get to the details of the review, shall we? So the first and biggest point about this game, and this is we're reviewing like year one right now here. So the biggest problem of the game is the single player multiplayer division, because this game has been made for multiplayer. Normally in a video game, you play Monster Hunter, you can play that single player or multiplayer, doesn't matter. You can play Division 2 single player, multiplayer. It's still fun, you still have all the quests, everything works out. But with Fallout 76, the problem is the NPCs. So when you're playing single player, then you're basically the only human around because there's no human NPCs. There's only robots, there's only monsters, there's holotapes of people that used to exist, but you're basically a human that has crawled out of the vault and you're witnessing and experiencing a world that is empty of humans. And that is kind of a radical take on the game, but it's also pretty depressing. But when you're playing multiplayer, when you're co-oping with someone else, that's not a problem at all. You're like, oh my god, here we are. You see the other players every now and then, but it's just like fleeting. Okay, there's someone there and now they're gone, basically. Or you trade something and that's about it. But when you're playing with someone else, it's like, oh yeah, you're experiencing it together. That other person is the company that you need on the journey. So it works. In co-op, this game works totally fine, no problem at all. But single player, I can imagine that it can get very depressing, which is funny because that would make this game in a weird way the most authentic Fallout game, because yes, the nuclear fallout has happened, all this bad stuff has happened, and then you emerge out of the vault and everyone has been destroyed. So you're truly witnessing a desolate wasteland after all the emergencies. So it's pretty funny. And of course, we're now post E3 and they're gonna add NPCs in the future to this game in the fall update, and that's exactly what this game needs. So they're gonna maybe they had all this plan all together in their heads, or they just listened to the fan feedback, maybe the fan feedback, but they are gonna add NPCs and quests of that kind, and dialogue trees and whatever. So that's gonna be super cool, because then no one has an excuse to not play this game, because it's gonna be like resembling more like traditional Fallout 2. So that's a great thing to happen to the game. But if we're looking at the base mechanics of the game, then I don't really have that much to complain about. The graphics of the game, yeah, okay, they're not like the most amazing graphics, but they're totally passable. And I'm a console player, so maybe my standard is lower than someone else's, but whatever. It's totally fine to me. And if you compare this game to like Elder Scrolls Online, for example, when I'm playing Elder Scrolls Online, I'm always feeling that, god damn it, I wish I was playing a full Elder Scrolls single player game, because the online version is dumbed down. You only have certain skills that you can use. You can't use like all the different spells and all that cool stuff. So Elder Scrolls Online to me is like a dumbed down, simplified version just like annoys you, that god damn it, they have this giant world and I wish all the complexity was here. With Fallout 76, it's not as drastic as that. You have all the combat mechanics in there. You have like, you need to eat, you need to drink, you need to take care of your radiation, like all these survival mechanics, which I think are pretty well balanced in Fallout 76. I think it's a good balance, especially when you start to get better cards, etc., to help with your like survival. Then that's not so much of a problem. So I liked the survival mechanics in this game. And then you have like all the armors and different weapons. You can be crafting them, you can be repairing them, you can be modding them. All these things that you can do in Fallout, in the normal Fallout games, you still have here. And you're gonna be spend a lot of time just picking up stuff from the houses, like looting and scrapping your junk, and repairing and making stuff just like Fallout. So the basic mechanics in this game are, they resemble actual Fallout. So I really didn't have any problem with this. Like, I enjoy playing it, and this is exactly personally what I wanted from this game, is that I wanted it to be a multiplayer version of Fallout. And yes, it doesn't have all the complexity of the single player games, because you don't have NPCs there currently, but they are coming. But the irony here is that so many people seem to be judging the game based on, it's not the same as Fallout 4. Well, it doesn't claim to be a single player Fallout game. It is a multiplayer Fallout game. Although I do acknowledge that it's also the developers' kind of problem if they make a game and the single player feels kind of very gimped. So you basically have to play it multiplayer. Like in the modern climate of game development, you want to make a game so it's enjoyable in single player and multiplayer. So that's kind of like a little mishap that the developers made, but they are gonna rectify that. So hopefully it works out. But yeah, the mechanics are totally fine. One thing that does have problems is the VATS, because this is a multiplayer game, so you cannot stop time, obviously. Like in single player Fallout games, you can just stop the time in VATS and aim at whatever part you want. So here it's a real time like body part. scan shooting that you're doing basically. And maybe my build was just not, well, it was not optimized for that at all, but it just felt that the whole VATS thing was kind of like, well, it doesn't necessarily work that well. Maybe my build was off, like I said, but in general, the firearms felt that they were all underpowered. So I ended up using melee weapons because the firearms just felt like a total waste of time. Again, is this a problem with my build or is it just a general problem? But maybe that like the VATS being real time and all that also kind of gave some more problems to this area in general. I'm not sure, but that's how I felt that the firearms are not worth the hassle, which is kind of sad because there's a lot of firearms that you can craft and you can find, etc. But yeah, and then if we think about the world in this game, it's a giant world. It's a giant freaking world with different areas that are totally like have a lot of variety in what they look like. You have forest and mountain and minerals in the mountain. Then you have a weird sort of swampy area. Then you have a bog that is one of the most horrible places in any video game. That that freaking cranberry bog is such a nightmare. It's funny how they managed to make that place like a total nightmare. It kind of looks like, oh yeah, it looks pretty funny. There's colors here, but then there's about 1 million creatures around there, so it's just like you don't want to go there unless you have to go there. It's pretty funny stuff. And then you have some like toxic kind of wasteland, deserty kind of area, etc. So there's a lot of variety, and the map is gigantic. That's very cool, and it looks very good too. And then you have the camp mechanics. Also, those work really well. Maybe it's not as big or like, elaborate that you can make in Fallout 4, but you can still make your camp. You can make all sorts of cool and crazy camp designs. You can move your camp instantly anywhere you want to move it. And it's just cool. It's just cool making your camp out there, and then you can fast travel it to instantly. If you have your if you're playing with friends, then each one of you can have your own camp, and then you can fast travel to your friends' camps also. So you can use them as free fast travel points around the map. So this camp mechanic, I really liked it. You can just go to the middle of the freaking forest and build a little camp there on a lake or on a cliff that you're just looking down. You have like a nice view from your balcony. You can make traps there. You can try to make it so that it's hard to even get to your like inside your camp and put turrets out there and everything. So it's really cool. And they have been like increasing the limit of how many pieces you can put to the camp. They have been increasing the stash limit. Obviously, the developers, they are concerned about that it's a multiplayer game. So if you're gonna add like the limits to too high of a number, then is it gonna like affect the game negatively? So of course they're conservative about that. So that's why they're like incrementally increasing the freaking limits to the build maximum and the stash, but they have been like upping them, so that's very good. And then if we think about the quests, like I said, the main quest is really long. It makes you go around like the whole freaking map, and you can launch nukes, which is super cool. And also that it's not, you can't just do it like super simply. You have to do a little work to launch the nuke, and even like getting to the freaking bunker inside the bunker where you can launch it, then there's a lot of freaking resistance there. And then when you launch a nuke or someone else launches a nuke, you can see where it's gonna land. The visuals are super cool. And then all of that radiation area, that blast zone, goes absolutely nuts. Every creature there's gonna be radiated. You can gather like even more rare materials from there. So everyone's out there gathering and slaying these giant hordes of crazy ass beasts. It's pretty cool. Like I really like the nuke mechanic in the game. They really nailed nukes are basically what Fallout it is all about. So this adding this mechanic that players can actually fire them and then you can get like even more special materials from these areas, then that is total genius. Hell yeah. So that works really well. But yeah, in general, there's a lot to play in this game. And when we started playing the game, then in the start we were like, and we bought this at launch, mind you. In the start, we were kind of like, well, it's meh, it's kind of meh. It feels a little depressing. There's no people anywhere, whatever. Then we started playing something else. And then in a few weeks, I was like, okay, okay, we bought this at launch, so we better get back to this. And then we started playing more of the game. We got hang of the mechanics, and then we started enjoying it. We enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the game. So it might take a little while to kind of like the start can be the worst part of the game. I mean, it's not super bad, but it can feel a little underwhelming. But it gets better when you get more cards and you can get more materials and you get hang of the camp and you can put your camp in a good position and all this stuff. So it does get better. But the fact that there's no humans and there's a lot of holotapes and whatever, that can, especially in single player, I imagine that can feel like, oh my god, what the hell? This is just holotape after holotape. So if you can get a friend to play this with, then that is definitely recommended. But yeah, in general, like people have been taking or being really harsh about this game. A lot of people like probably have not even played this. And I'm like, if you haven't even played this, then shut your freaking trap. Give it a try and then give us an evaluation. But if you haven't even played it, like people are saying like, oh my god, it's like even if I got it for free, then that's too high of a price. Like, shut up. It's a giant game, and this game has on Metacritic, it's 5 out of 10 on every platform, and that to me is preposterous. This is not a 5 out of 10 game. Not at all. This is uh like at the lowest this is a 7 out of 10 game. It's still a AAA game. It's like a massive world with so much to do and you can play it in multiplayer too. So like I think that this game has been judged very harshly and undeservedly. So I really like the game. So I'm just saying that maybe people should give this a shot. And there's a free weekend going on right now with the game, or free week, and they've been constantly adding new stuff to this game as well, like the Wild Appalachia uh, update that was in spring 2019. They added like brewing and new events and player vending, survival mode, legendary vendor, customizable backpack system, and new mythical creatures and etc. So they've been constantly adding new stuff. They've been constantly fixing the bugs in this game. So they're like, it's just getting better. And now they at E3 they added the nuclear winter mode. So that's like some sort of Battle Royale thing, which is pretty funny. But they're also going to be adding high-level vault raids. There's going to be 2 vaults that are opening, because currently in the world there are 4 vaults, but you can't get into them, which is pretty genius, because now they're going to be adding 2 of those at some point. And then in the fall of 2019 it's going to be the Wastelanders, and that's going to be the big freaking thing that they are going to. It's basically like World of Warcraft. The world is going to change, and there's going to be NPCs flooding into the area, and there's probably going to be all sorts of other changes in the world, but the NPCs are the big thing here, that people are. It's going to be more like traditional Fallout, hopefully. So then all these people who really can't play this game in single player so far, the world is now not going to be so empty. So that's going to be really good. But you know, props to the developers. They've kept at this game. They've constantly updated it, made new stuff here, new quests, new items, new modes, and hopefully when fall comes and this Wastelander updates comes to this game, it's gonna be like a revival of this game, and it's finally gonna start getting some of the attention it deserves. It's a good game. So that's about it. That's my review of Fallout 76, and yes, PlayStation 4 Pro. That's what I've been using to play this, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the game. I wish they would make a sequel where you have another map, but they're probably gonna stick with this one and just make like the kind of like different seasons, that then the world is gonna change. There's gonna be events, there's gonna be people, different factions moving in and out, and that's gonna be fine too. Like they said here, that the factions of raiders and settlers are coming into the world, so that's gonna be cool. But yeah, I just wanted to make this review because so many people have been like very negative about the game, and I'm like, this is not a 5 out of 10 game. No freaking way is this a 5 out of 10 game. I don't know what people have been smoking, but that is not fair to the game. And it's not a full single player Fallout, it is a multiplayer Fallout. But then of course it should still have enjoyable content for single player. I agree with that too. But yeah, that's about it. Have you guys tried out this game? What do you think about it? Have you enjoyed it? Have you played it single player, multiplayer? What are your thoughts? Leave them down in the comments below. And also one another thing is that you can get this very cheap right now. I checked this one Finnish video game store, and they are selling a copy of this used PS4 for 14 or 15 euros. So this game is dirt cheap. You can find it for very good price at certain places. So there's no like excuse for not giving it a try. But then of course some people might wait for the fall update, and that's probably a good time to wait for it too if you're planning on playing this single player. But yeah, that was that. I enjoyed the game. I like it. So give it a shot if you're so inclined. And thanks for watching, and see you again next time. Bye bye. Take care. Bye. Bye.